Yeah, closer than I thought. It's still a little rough to me, honestly.
It's all that fucking cocaine.
All that cocaine. It ages somebody. I mean, honestly, it ages. No, listen, prison ages you.
Yeah, all of the 2 months he spent in it.
Sweet Christmas.
Shout out to my birds.
Hello. This is Che.
This is Corey.
And this is the Next Time On podcast, a podcast where 2 lifelong friends discuss all things amazing and all things fetid in popular culture. Today, to celebrate the Christmas season, we will be sharing the joy by spending the next hour talking about the wonderful, wonderful death of Henry Kissinger, one of humanity's worst.
I mean, honestly, I've been waiting for this day for so fucking long since I was a
for literally 30 years.
Since I was a child and I was watching Futurama, and I'm like, I don't know who the fuck Henry Kissinger is, and I did some googling, and I'm like, oh my god,
true human garbage. Glad to see you go, my guy. But that's not what we're actually talking about today, unfortunately. I would love to
just
go
dunking
over
Henry
all
Kissinger.
the war crimes and heinous acts he committed over his all too long life.
I think it might have been longer than an hour.
That's a long book.
That's a.
What we're actually talking about today is something almost as evil, and that is the 1994 Christmas movie. I mean,
We gotta I mean, you gotta preface this. This is known, and I think in many people's minds, as a Christmas classic.
It's number 2 on the Disney top 10. I think when I saw it, some streaming platform, people are watching this movie.
So, like, we're talking about the Santa Claus, starring Tim Allen.
The snitch Tim Allen. Give him his full title, Corey. He's earned it.
But the snitch Tim Allen. But the thing about it is, I was like, when I was talking about this episode with other people, and I mentioned when I went back over Thanksgiving, because I've seen this movie twice now. And I was mentioning, like, I'm talking about Santa Claus on the podcast. People are like, oh, I love that movie. And my mouth is just like, I don't want to, you don't want to take that away from somebody else. So I hope if you're watching this now, we're going to take away that joy. Well,
this is literally the point of the show, right?
Yeah.
We go back and watch things that we loved as a kid, and we examine whether or not we were right. And in this case, we were wrong.
We know that from the get-go. We were wrong. I mean, like, looking back at it now, I mean, Jay, you want to get us started before we kind of just go in and just tear this film
a couple points of business before we talk about this awful movie. Don't forget to follow us at Next Time On Pod. It is, of course, December, which you all know, which is weird because it was like February 2 weeks ago. But the year is coming to a close, which means many big things are coming, including our end-of-year podcast, which you should follow so that you can find it wherever you're watching or viewing. If you're on our YouTube channel at Next Time On Pod, if you're on our social medias, same thing all over the place. But we got good stuff coming for you at the end of this year, and then more good stuff in the new year when that eventually comes. Don't forget, we've got Do a Powerbomb by Daniel Warren Johnson, our final book club of the year. And last but not least, don't forget to go over there at nexttimeon.net, find all of our archived writing, podcasts, all that good stuff. Whew, that's the spiel.
Let's do it.
It's time to get down to business. So what is this movie is the question. Like I said, 1994, starring the snitch Tim Allen and directed by, I guess, Tim Allen's like best friend. I don't think I even realized this until I went and looked up this is directed by John Pasquin, who, aside from doing the Santa Claus and other Tim Allen stuff, is probably most famous for Miss Congeniality. Which I
did like, which I haven't been back and watched it again, but I remember liking it as a kid.
It's another one that I remember liking as a kid. I think probably holds a more renowned place in society than the rest of Pasquin's work. He also directed a number of episodes of Home Improvement, which we can blame for giving us this tire fire of a Christmas movie. I don't know who the audience for Home Improvement was. It wasn't me or any person I knew.
It's conservatives.
I guess so, right?
That's I think so. I mean, it's for conservatives who, that's their vibe back then, back when they were a lot more innocent, I guess.
Yeah, actually, speaking of which, he did direct episodes of his most recent directorial job was on 73 episodes of the terrible,
Sorry,
73 episodes of the
Oh, okay. Got it.
Last Man Standing, which is basically when Tim Allen fully jumped the shark and just became a Republican. I think this is post him going on
I mean, I think that's
Jimmy
the point.
Fallon and saying being a Republican in Hollywood was worse than being a Jew in 1940s Poland, which is a real quote.
Yeah. Like 1930s Germany, you got to be
Sorry,
real
1930s
careful around
Germany.
here. You know, you'll get beat up if you don't believe what everyone believes. This came out in.
He said this on the television. In
Yeah,
front
he
of
said
cameras.
this on a live television show in 2017.
They let this man play fucking Santa Claus in kids movies, and he's still to this day. Did you watch any episodes of the Santa Clauses, Corey, in preparation
No.
for this?
I thought about it. I thought about watching the second film actually, like because I really want to kind of go into. I mean, the big thing about this film, and I mean the entire point of the film, is that it's based off of a contract, and it's a weird it's a weird legal contract, like I guess pitch for this entire premise. And I was interested. I was like thinking about going to watch the second one because I think each movie adds on to another clause.
Yeah,
of
it's
it,
like more legal shit gets added to the
which is also such a weird thing for kids too, where it's just like, you know, it's just you teach about contract law. And guess what? As someone who did a lot of contract shit for the last 10 years of his life, it's not exciting.
No, it is a very odd idea for a Santa Claus movie. It's an even more odd idea when you realize that that's a Santa Claus movie for children. Yeah, it's it is, even in its execution, I don't think the movie really knows what it's trying to pull off. I sort of, again, we talked about this as a kid. I remember thinking this was a lot of fun, which is weird because I didn't like Tim Allen. I didn't watch Home Improvement. Like I said, I knew he was Buzz Lightyear, but I don't think I cared that he was Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, I think that's what my thing was. Like, growing up, I knew he was Buzz Lightyear. And I don't even think I actually put the connection that he was the same actor as a Santa Claus as a child. And I think post that, like, before, like, as I got older, I'm just more like, yeah, I like the Santa Claus. I don't like Buzz Lightyear. I don't really have to give much more of a thought about it. And then, you know, it's one of those people, like, if you just kind of kept your fucking mouth shut, I wouldn't have to Google you. And I probably wouldn't know anything more about him if he kind of just shut the fuck up and did his TV show.
I actually think there is a version of Tim Allen's life where he doesn't say wild shit about Nazi Germany.
Well, he'd probably still be in prison.
It's true. He would still probably, if he did the snitching and then.
Jay, do we actually mention why we keep saying he is a snitch?
So Tim Allen.
For those who don't know.
For those of you who don't know, Tim Allen was caught up in a drug ring in Colorado, right? And
I think so. I'm trying to figure out where it was. Oh, in 1978, he was arrested in Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, at the Kalamazoo Battle Creek International Airport for possession of
Colorado?
I'm fucking. Yeah, I think so. Why are you doing this to me?
Well,
Michigan.
I'm just sorry. Michigan.
Yeah, Jesus. With about 1.5 pounds of cocaine. He pled guilty to felony drug trafficking charges, provided the names of other dealers in exchange for a sentence of 3 to 7 years rather than a possible life imprisonment. He was paroled 3 years later after serving 2 years and 4 months in Federal Correction Institute, Sandstone, Minnesota.
Man, it's got to be nice being white, right?
In 1998, he was arrested for driving under the influence in Birmingham, Michigan.
This man is the voice of one of the most iconic children's characters ever.
And then he was a supporter of the Republican Party, describing himself as fiscally conservative and emotionally liberal, whatever the fuck that means.
It doesn't mean anything.
And as a way to cover his own ass, he has condemned Donald Trump and those who took part in the Capitol attack in 2021. So you voted for him the first time, didn't you, you piece of shit?
For sure he did. Yeah,
probably the second time too, honestly.
If you just never Google Tim Allen, like we said, he's the guy from the Santa Claus movies, which we loved as kids, even though we're going to talk about how actually shit they are now. He's the guy from Toy Story, which still fucking slaps. And probably, just to me personally right now, the movie that actually still holds a soft place in my heart, he is the star of Galaxy Quest, which still
I forgot about Galaxy Quest. Yeah. It's a really fucking good movie.
And it's probably the only outside of Buzz Lightyear, which is a different story entirely, is probably by far the best use of the Tim Allen shtick,
I mean, yeah, because he kind of is just William Shatner. It's like it's a very similar like. It's a really good casting for that movie entirely, but yeah, basically he was William Shatner.
Yeah, I think it is easily his best work. I say this as somebody who again has maybe seen half an episode of Home Improvement in my life. Are there any other good Tim Allen works that you'd like to shout out before we move on?
No, I think we kind of covered everything. Actually,
we did the whole thing, right? Are you a Wild Hogs guy?
Is that who's in the movie? I'm trying to remember.
Wild Hogs
don't give it to me. It's John Travolta. Tim Allen.
Yes.
Martin Lawrence?
No, I don't.
Fuck.
I don't know what you're confusing. It's John Travolta, Tim Allen, Ray Liotta, and William H. Macy.
I don't know what the fuck I'm confusing that with.
Also, Marissa Tomei is in that movie, so.
Just a bunch of white guys. I don't know why I thought I might have gave them like one benefit of the doubt of having one black person in it, but no, I'm sorry. Just don't know what the fuck I'm thinking about. I apologize.
Yeah, so that is basically we've done our due diligence on the Tim Allen career. So now we're going to talk about the Santa Claus, and first up is the synopsis of this film, which I have for you guys as succinctly as possible. All right. A callous business executive at a toy company, Scott Calvin, is spending a strained Christmas Eve with his son before returning him to his ex-wife and her new psychologist partner when Santa Claus dies falling off his roof. For some reason, he puts on the dead man's clothes and is
No. Sorry, continue. I'm sorry, continue. We can kind of dive into that a little bit. I'm sorry.
He puts on the dead man's clothes and is taken to the North Pole to accept his new role. Over the next year, Scott is ravaged by the body horror that is transforming unwillingly into Santa, the stress of which entirely ends his relationship with his ex-wife, who takes their son, then suddenly happily ever after. Did I miss anything great? Sounds like I missed something very important.
First part. No, he's like, you say you suddenly put on a suit. He is like mercilessly bullied by his child.
It's true. I couldn't get it in my 100-word synopsis, but he is definitely.
He is emotionally. I mean, like, truly, like, the driving force of this entire film is somebody we're going to dive into more, but is the child character who basically emotionally manipulates his father into this entire plot of a film.
Although
my second point, Che, I'm sorry. My second point of this is Martin Lawrence is the second billed actor in Wild Hogs.
No,
so yes.
Hold on.
Yes. He's on the fucking poster, man.
He is on the poster. That's weird.
Yeah.
If you Google just Google Wild Hogs cast, he does not show up.
I think probably his agent was like, "We got to get this shit off of here, man."
He's on the second row. This is not my fault, ladies and gentlemen.
He's on the poster.
No, you're right. You're right. I just Googled the Wild Hogs cast and just read the top bill, and he's not even on the first row. He comes after John C. McGinley in the Google listing of the cast. But yes, you're right. It's my bad. You're right. I will not pretend to have committed Wild Hogs to memory, a movie that I think I've seen.
It sticks with you for some reason, but continue.
So, after that, I think pretty. You got the idea of the movie.
No, I think you got the idea of the film. It's like it's portrayed as a family film. It's like, oh, he ends up being Santa. This is all nice, and look at all the shenanigans. But if you just stop and think about any of this for like 3 seconds, it's like completely horrifying. And also, like, from the outside looking in on it, his son, I mean, like, looks like he's having a mental breakdown. All of it makes a lot of sense. Like, it's just the way that the film is portrayed and written, it just treats like all of the adults who don't realize that he's Santa Claus as they're all like crazy people.
There's a cut of this movie that's from, not a cut, there's a version of this movie that's from the wife's perspective that's closer to like The Omen than a Christmas movie. It's just like, you think your son is losing his fucking mind and your ex-husband is facilitating it by being like, I'm Santa Claus. If you don't see them fly to the North Pole on a sleigh pulled by reindeer, it's a much more sinister film.
Oh yeah, no, it's like completely fucked up. Like, he also, like, they kind of jump over this, and I didn't realize it the second time I was watching it, but he takes his son away for a month. He like kidnaps his son for a full month at the end of the film. And like, listen, we get to see that he does call back, but just the thought process, like, I would be fucking terrified if just the kid thinks he's in the North Pole, but it's played for laughs. I mean, obviously it's a kids movie, but it's also just you step back, think about it from a little bit, change the soundtrack on it, and this film is a fucking horror film.
So I have a theory on this movie that I think explains a lot of it. Should we run it now or should we save it till the end? I'll make it your call.
No. You can do it now.
All
Let's
right.
do it
So
now.
my so since we're talking about the kid, it made me think about it. On my second viewing of this movie, I realized that this movie, much like the theory that Top Gun Maverick is all in purgatory after Tom Cruise dies in the opening action sequence, I think this movie is actually all in the son's head, whose name is escaping me. What's the kid's name?
Eric
Charlie.
Lloyd.
It's all
Charlie.
It's all in Charlie Calvin's head,
Horrible
who
name.
is disassociating because his parents are going through a messy divorce and his life is crumbling around him. And so he's formed this idea that the reason his dad is leaving home and he never sees him anymore and he's stuck at home with his mom and this new strange man who he doesn't know, who wears ugly sweaters, is because his dad is Santa Claus. And his dad, who he sees he sees every once in a while going through depression, gaining weight, growing a scraggly beard, struggling at work. All that is because he's turning into Santa Claus, not because he's suffering from a traumatic event in his life, the end of his marriage and loss of
See,
his
what
child.
you actually sound like now is just the therapist, the child therapist.
I really connect with Neil Miller
But I'm
in this
saying,
movie.
but you're talking. No, not him. He does. He's not real. I don't count him. But like, you're the therapist talking to parents, be like, okay, here's actually what's wrong with your child. He's just basically being like, I'm a psychiatrist, which means, and I'm like, that's not really what psychiatrists do. And also, you're really bad at honestly, he should change. He should change his career.
Has anybody in a movie ever said their job so many times?
I think
Every time he starts,
I think back in the
I'm a
'90s.
psychiatrist.
Well, I think back in the '90s, it was funny to make fun of people who went to go deal with their emotions.
It's a very '90s joke.
Also, Tim Allen's fucking Republican, so it's very much like, haha, let's look down on the whole
Tim Allen probably still thinks this is funny. I'm giving the movie far too much credit. Obviously,
Yes.
this is like
Yes, you are.
a Mad Libs of bad ideas strung together. But there is a reading of this movie where it's like it's all happening in this kid's head. It explains kind of the way that Scott Calvin acts in this movie, which is so strange. He at no point reacts like a human being would if they just discovered that even ignoring the fact that they're being turned into Santa Claus. He just discovered that Santa Claus is real and doesn't ever really have a reaction to it. It's so strange.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, if this is all actually in this poor kid's head who's going through a mental breakdown and is watching the people in his life really struggle with something traumatic, it makes a lot more sense. But really, that's not what this movie. It's just
not.
a theory. Really, this movie is not.
That's not a Christmas movie, Jay. That's actually like
this isn't a Christmas movie. This isn't a Christmas movie.
I think, but it has to be, Jay. It literally has to be a Christmas movie. It's nothing else but a Christmas movie. But the thing you described, this is more of like you put that on to punish children.
Well, when we get to our remake, you'll see that I've really stuck with that idea running forward with the director I chose.
Jesus Christ.
So the question really is, we talked about how bad this movie is already. I think the listeners have gathered that the plot makes no sense. The acting is confusing. But really, is Rotten Tomatoes right about this movie? A tool that you all know I respect greatly. I think is the bastion of truth when it comes to what is good and bad in cinema.
We got to come up with a better system. We got to figure this out, guys.
It's rough. By the way, Saltburn 76% on Rotten Tomatoes.
This is not this podcast, Jay.
Just want to double check that.
This is a pod. This is not the
72%.
pod. This isn't. That is a weird tangent podcast. We might have to bring a guest on for it. Because I'm not watching that shit.
You have to, Corey. You have to
No.
for content. The Santa Claus sits at 73% from the critics and 66% from the audience. That is on a 59 reviews from the critics and over 250,000 from the audience. The critical consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is as follows. The Santa Claus is utterly undemanding, but it's firmly rooted in the sort of good old-fashioned holiday spirit missing from too many modern Yuletide films.
This is okay. No, because let's just break that down right there. It's
I agree. It's
not. It
demanding.
seems to straight up hate the idea of Christmas and Santa Claus for most of the film. And you know what? I got to say this at the very end though, where he's like actually like the Santa Claus part of it. It does feel like it actually like wants to care.
Yes.
It does feel like yes, this is like it's kind of like this. We do like the spirit of the season. But most of the rest of the film, it's like not even like a Scrooge situation or like he doesn't seem like he doesn't believe in it. It's like the kid's the only one under this delusion. So as an audience, we're all supposed to be like, yo, this is like kind of fucked up. We're not really in the workshop. It's this guy losing his family, going through a horrible transformation of his body. It's not, if anything, it makes me see like this, Santa Claus kind of ruined his life.
Yes, for sure. I mean, for a movie, especially on the back of that, for a movie about Christmas, as you pointed out, we don't really spend a lot of time doing Santa Claus shit. It's kind of like the end of the first act of the movie, where right after the Santa Claus dies and he picks up the suit, where he does the first run of dropping into 2 houses and goes back to the North Pole, and then the very, very end of the movie where he's fully become Santa Claus, and in the entire middle part of the movie, it's just his life falling apart.
Yeah, and I think
is it really a Christmas movie?
And I think the whole end scene is, which I kind of like, I mean, we're looking at this more of like an actual Christmas film, and I think they really should have spent some more time of him actually acting like Santa.
Being Santa Claus in the movie.
Yeah, because like I just feel like the whole like end scene where he returns Charlie to the house and the mom's like, you really are Santa. I'm like, it felt so unearned. Because I mean, like the way he's actually acting, and like, I'm giving Tim Allen some credit for it. I thought he was very Santa Claus-y, if we're going to go that way in that final scene. But I'm like, it felt so whiplashy and out of nowhere where he's just like, oh, I'm Santa. But like, he realizes that he's Santa on literally the last moment before he goes to the North Pole. I think there really could have been some more things of like him believing that he is Santa, but like also having to toe the line and being like, I can't really tell my son that because I'm going to lose custody of him. And I think that's a better idea to do it rather than him being like, nope, this isn't me. Probably would have something like the entire boardroom sequence, which, can you describe that for us a little bit, Chai?
Yeah, so the boardroom scene, 3 days after, it's not the first day, because the first day,
no, it was
still
like
hasn't started the body horror element of becoming Santa Claus.
And I think they were like, it's been a weekend or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I think, and that's that boardroom scene is just kind of nuts. But yeah, it's like 3 days after it, and he shows up at his weird boardroom meeting for the toy company that he works at, I guess, and they're doing, I guess, a marketing meeting for next year.
They're pitching. Oh, that's a good point. Why are they talking? It didn't even really click until you just said that. They're pitching a Santa Claus tank, like December 28th.
So first of all, they're not even pitching a Santa Claus tank. If I listened to it this time around, because I'm like, well, this is a weird, why would Santa Claus be in a tank? I'm like, let me just listen to it for a second. It's not about Santa Claus being in a tank. They're selling a tank,
right? And
they have Santa Claus to push it. And I'm like, that's fucking stupid. And like, just think about it more like, why would you use that? It makes no sense. It's very stupid.
Right.
But also, I'm like, I like how this company is also very upfront with being like, oh, we're designing our products to fail. I'm like, kind of.
It's that moment when Tim Allen in that boardroom, we're supposed to believe beforehand he's like a cutthroat businessman because we see him open the movie with
But at the same time,
we don't sexist joke to over the movie like 2 minutes in, which I think is.
It's like not sexist. It's just fucking like nuts. Where like this guy's cheating on it. Okay, also, can we talk about that opening scene? That would make me realize it too. It is Christmas Eve, and this entire company does not have their family can't come to this party. They establish that their family is not invited to this Christmas party that they're having.
What kind of fucking office building has a Christmas party on Christmas Eve?
On Christmas Eve, and you can't bring your family.
My office just had the Christmas party yesterday. On the 8th.
Yeah, it's like you're supposed
to do
it like
on having Christmas parties.
Like you don't do it because like I mean, and you can't bring your family. Like that's the
most
insane.
Wants to be in their office party at 6 o'clock on Christmas Eve. That's crazy. I guess the idea is that these people do.
But it's like not even like he doesn't even like. It's not even like he works too much. He's at a party, so we can't even have that whole like he's like too busy for his kid. No, he's kind of a dickhead. He's just at a party. But even then, he's not late or anything like that. Whatever. And also, we don't really see him be like a bad business guy. Really, we're like he's like, hey, our toy did well. Right. He doesn't seem like
we just have him do the switch, but never the first part. We're in the meeting after he's transformed into Santa Claus. He says we should build a toy that is nurturing to their development, and then which is clearly supposed to be a reference to the fact that they're not doing that, but we never see that.
We never
the
see
setup for that isn't ever in the movie.
And I think another thing about this film that it does annoy me with that same track is that we're supposed to be like, oh, he becomes like he doesn't care about his kid. And like, he seems like he's fucking trying. He made an entire, I mean, I get it's supposed to be a joke, but he like made this motherfucker an entire Christmas dinner with size and shit.
He just started trying though, right?
I don't know. I guess so.
When the opening is like him lying to his wife about there being traffic and he's late as usual, and just like he's on the phone being like, oh, there's a 3-car pileup. Meanwhile, we see him driving with 0 cars on the road. I think the idea is that this guy, Scott Calvin, has been a dick and is like just now, because his son doesn't even want to be with him.
No, he's like, yeah, I guess so. I didn't really get that much of a feeling that like, if anything, I'm just like more like, this is just kind of a sad dad trying to connect with his kid. But I guess it does make sense. It does. But,
I'm agree with you, but we never see any of that in the movie.
Yeah, we
don't
see it.
Ever give us any of that.
We really didn't get a lot of it just felt like they told us a bunch of shit, but not actually the important shit.
Although, to be honest, for a kids movie at an hour and 50 minutes, I think I'm good. I'm good on.
Yeah, no. It's like I think I'm asking a lot of a film because if anything, like they really want to get to the Christmas parts of shit. They don't want to really be like, here's his backstory. That's no one really gives a shit about it back then. But I mean, like honestly though, I mean, like if I was a dad, I'd be a dickhead too to my son if he was like this. Honestly, this kid deserves.
That's the thing that's hard about this movie is that fucking everyone sucks, especially the kid.
Yeah,
Charlie Calvin is so spoiled and irritating.
His like 2 parents, his dad lives with his. I think both of his parents seem pretty fucking well off. Yeah. He gets to spend time with both of them. It's not even like it kind of goes one or the other. Mm-hmm. I remember he opens up. He's like, there seems to not be a lot of presents underneath the tree, and I'm like, oh, this is the kind of motherfucker we get set up with from the get go. Yeah. And they do call him selfish at the end, but I feel like we should have like fucking nailed that shit in. He should have been. This motherfucker was selfish, and he didn't see the error of his ways whatsoever because he calls him back immediately.
Yeah, seconds later.
We're not there yet, though.
We're not there yet. It sounds like we're in agreement, though, that 73% and 66% are far too high for this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I think this is one of the highest we've had ever.
I think we're gonna get a lot of. I think we're gonna get a lot of shit for this episode.
I think people before you comment on the YouTube channel. Well, one, why are you commenting on a YouTube video?
Stop that. Okay. It's engagement, you dickhead.
But 2, go watch this movie.
I think that's fair.
I think you're a nostalgia guy. If you're listening to us now and you're like, no, the Santa Claus is great, I would say go watch it.
Go watch it. Don't be like in my memory and it was a kid's movie. Yeah. No. Go watch it. Go watch it. We've seen it twice.
I was saying this to Corey before. I was like, I was having moments where I was like picking apart stupid shit in this movie and like all the logical fallacies and the leaps in basically plot from like one point to another without really explaining what's going on in between. And then I thought to myself, well, it is a kid's movie. Why am I being so hard on it? And then you realize Home Alone, maybe one of the greatest Christmas movies ever, is a kid's movie. And like still holds up today. I still fucking love Home Alone 1 and 2. And there are parts of that movie that are obviously like preposterous, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it's like still like, yeah, like we're not, I mean, if anything to me, like the plot points in this film are just more, the one that I kind of just get stuck on is the whole kidnapping a kid for a month. But like, and like Home Alone, I mean, they really should have realized their kid was missing like almost immediately. But that's just, we don't really harp on those things.
I still watch that opening of that movie, and it is believable to me that family could have run out of the house with all those people, all that chaos, and left him. The thing that's preposterous, but obviously we needed the sequel, is for them to do it again.
I would be like,
second one, it's crazy.
I feel like immediately like, where the fuck is Kevin? Like,
yeah. You like tie him to your body. You're like, he's never leaving my side. I don't care if I leave a different kid, but I can't leave Kevin twice.
It's also just such a different time before like communication and like cell phone. It's
like
right
now that kid would have an iPad where he'd like be hitting them up on iMessenger, like, hey,
so, yo, what's good? Also, hey, 911. There's people breaking into my house.
Yeah, why did he do it? I don't remember why he never calls the cops in that movie.
I don't remember. I'm gonna watch Home Alone probably a couple of weeks, so I'm not trying to ruin it for myself. I'm sure there's an explanation for that. That's pretty much that's way too of an open question for them not to even have considered that.
Oh, did they cut the phone line? Is that?
Oh, they might have.
Wet Bandits cut the phone line?
They might have cut the phone line. Yes, that might be it actually.
Yeah. Anything else about this movie in general before we take a break and come back and talk about the some more concrete categories?
No, I think I'm good because I hate the kid. Talked about how weird the psychiatrist is. Did we do? We haven't gotten the worst moment yet, have we? Okay, no. Then no. Those will come later. Then no. Let's go to break.
All right, we'll be back in a second.
You got the card? Okay, look. The Santa Claus. In putting on the suit and entering the sleigh, the wearer waives any and all rights to any previous identity, real or implied, and fully accepts the duties and responsibilities of Santa Claus in perpetuity until such time that wearer becomes unable to do so by either accident or design.
What does that mean?
It means you put on the suit, you're the big guy.
It's ridiculous. I never put on suits as a...
Try to understand this. Let me explain something to you, okay? Toys have to be delivered. I'm not gonna do it. It's not my job. I'm just an elf. It's Santa's job, but Santa fell off the roof. Your roof. You read the card, you put on the suit that clearly falls under the Santa Claus, so now you're Santa, okay?
And we're back.
So,
All right, first things first. Best and worst performances. Let's start with worst because we done worst, and that was the easiest. And we've already pretty effectively tipped our hand here, and that is Eric Lloyd as Calvin, Charlie Calvin. The son.
Charlie, horrible name.
Well, because they named him Scott Calvin because they needed BSC instead of naming him a real human name.
Yeah, we'll talk about this weird setup that I have a theory upon later on. But I mean, you know what? Like, I think in one part this kid is written horribly. Yeah. It's just like everything's against this kid. He is spoiled. He's a bit of an asshole. He's a fucking snitch like his dad. He just can't keep his fucking mouth shut. And he's just so annoying and selfish throughout the entire film. And he doesn't learn a lesson. He's told that he's selfish, but then almost immediately he kind of goes against it. So, and also, Eric Lloyd just kind of plays he doesn't play him as a little shit. He's just kind of there, and I don't like him. I just like the kid.
I think the biggest issue with his performance for me is that it is like he's never sympathetic. So many bad things are obviously happening to this kid. We've already talked about my theory that it's like not really a theory, but sort of a theory. But you're never rooting for this kid ever because he's so unlikable. Again, we talked about Home Alone, which is just like a really easy parallel, but Macaulay Culkin, that movie is imagine if we had to spend an hour alone with Eric Lloyd in Home Alone. I mean, unwatchable.
No, that'd be horrible. There's not a sense of like charisma or charm for this kid. I mean, also they're like, let's just write up a Tim Allen. We can throw whatever kid in there. And no, the kid's fucking distracting with how bad he is. He's just kind of, I don't want to be around him.
I will say, shout out to how, again, we've talked about it, cultural phenomenon for some reason Tim Allen was in the 90s. But it is weird how he's just like a dick for the whole movie until the last 30 seconds. Then he becomes jolly Santa Claus. But
actually, it's like, but he feels like Santa. I don't know. Even like, I think he still feels like Santa in those final moments. I don't know why. Maybe that's nostalgia for me, but I think like he actually doesn't feel like Tim Allen at the very end of the film. That's just me personally, though. I understand that you're not with that.
I have a hard time.
No, it's okay.
The Tim Allen of it all. But let's do best. Let's do our best performances. We differed here. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna do it in David Krumholtz. Can I also just say though, Krumholtz, who plays Bernard, the head elf. But I will say this: there's a lot of good kid actors in this film. Because I think for most of the elves, I'm like, these kids are actually acting like I believe that they're like older than they are.
Yes.
Not.
But
Eric
he's
Lloyd
also like. So is he?
Oh no,
like,
I was more basing
of thousands of years old because the other ones are thousands of years old and they're kids.
I was more basing those kids saying that Eric Lloyd's just a bad actor versus the other kids who are elves. But I think we're supposed to believe that Bernard is very, very, very old. Like it seems like supposed to have been around for like ever. And I guess like all these elves are supposed to be around for like at least a minimum of 1,000 years.
They say thousands of years old, yes.
So I think we have to just kind of take it at face value that these motherfuckers have just been around for ever.
Yeah. I also I love David Krumholtz, who, for those of you who didn't recognize him, is, I guess, probably most famous for being in Numbers. Also recently in Oppenheimer. Was in 10 Things I Hate About You.
He was good in Oppenheimer.
He's good in Oppenheimer. I like David almost everything he pops up in. He's become like a pretty reliable character actor in recent years. He's very Jewish. Like, just
and he's.
I'm not saying like don't cast Jewish people in Christmas movies, but he's like a Christmas elf he's acting like a New York Jew in this movie.
Yeah, and
it's got to be intentional, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like it's a really like I'm like. I'm like, what is this decision behind it? And I was like wondering, I was like, what is the writing behind this? Like, what are we doing here? Like, is it supposed to be like, oh, this is this thing? Or is it just kind of like, is he supposed to just be playing like the grouchy guy? And I'm like, I don't really, it was the 90s and I don't know. Everyone's kind of shitty back then, but I don't know.
I have the same reaction to, there's a character, this is going to be an incredible reference.
That's okay. We were talking about Wild Hogs earlier. It's okay.
There's a character in the show Evil, which was previously a CBS show, now Paramount Plus. You should all watch it. It's fucking lit. But there's a character in the show.
Spin-off podcast.
There's a character in the show who is a Catholic nun who's played by Andrea Martin, who I'm not sure is Jewish. I don't know. But in the show is definitely playing an old Jewish woman, but is a Catholic nun. It's such a weird decision. And the thing about Evil is it's unclear whether or not Evil is a show that loves Christianity or hates Christianity. So the character really works in it. I feel the same way about Santa Claus, which is like, does this movie love or hate Christmas? And Bernard, who's like a evil taskmaster elf.
Maybe that's why I like him, because
I think so.
It's like he's just likable, but he's also a dick. And I mean, like, I don't. Every time it's on screen, I'm like, oh, he's back. I'm like, yeah, I actually enjoy these scenes. And like,
he's
he
the
makes
only one with any real charisma. That moment where he appears in their kitchen at the end.
Yeah, where'd you get the pita pocket?
Also, what's in it?
It's mostly lettuce.
Just sprouts?
It's just mostly greens.
It looks horrendous.
Also, who eats pita pockets when their kid's kidnapped? I mean, I guess you gotta eat, but like on Christmas?
Wait, didn't he bring it? I thought he had it with him.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, why would the fucking psychiatrist take it away from him? I mean, I feel like it'd be kind of weird if I'm like teleporting in your kitchen, you take my sandwich. I'm like, you don't need to take my sandwich just because I broke into your house. It's like.
He hands it to you. It's a very weird scene, but David Krumholtz is quite charismatic in it. My pick for best, despite the fact that I think her character is done kind of dirty by this movie.
Done kind of dirty. And also, can I read a quote from my girlfriend when we were watching the movie? I can't sympathize with her because what sane human would get that haircut?
You said this before we started recording. I really don't think it looks that bad.
I think it's pretty bad, honestly. Like anything that can be conceivably cut with a bowl, it bothers me.
That's bangs are very uniform. It's true, but it was like a 90s look. She looks a lot like, you know who she looks like? Or the hair. It's the Uma Thurman hair from Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. It's like the Uma Thurman hair, but bad. Also, I didn't like the Uma Thurman hair. Right
Wendy,
I can't say Uma's name right now. Holy shit, Uma Thurman.
If you're listening, Wendy, I don't think your hair was bad.
I didn't like it one day. I'm sorry.
But I actually think she's like, for the material she's given, which is, as we've covered, pretty thankless. Like, she just has to be like the wet blanket mom.
She's an antagonist in this film.
Yeah, and then at the end of the movie just decides that it's like, you're Santa Claus, I'll burn the custody papers. With no, like, it's the most about turn ever.
I love it whenever they do these kind of scenes. So, like, because do you just have those papers on hand? She comes back in like 30 seconds. It's like, oh, I still have those right here to burn these things. It's like, I mean, also just like, if you're the cops, I'm like, hold on, real quick. So you drop the charges of the kidnap thing, and now it's like, it's cool now, I guess? Like, we're just kind of all like cool with this whole thing. I don't know how kidnappings work, to tell you the truth, so...
I do. Let me explain them to you. So really,
okay, thank you.
You have to grab the kid at school.
I see. All right, police, go get him. Yes, police. He's right there.
I also, funny thing about Wendy Crewson's career, who unfortunately has stopped because she committed the cardinal sin of
being a woman,
not being below the age of 30 her whole life. The year before, in 1993, she's in the movie The Good Son. Have you seen The Good Son, Corey?
I have not.
The Good Son is like a horror thriller starring Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, I know The Good Son. And like, with like Macaulay Culkin's like a fucking psycho or something.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then basically back to back was in this, and it was in that, and then in this movie.
So she got a worse child actor to work with, but who's still a psycho.
Yeah, I wonder which kid I would take. I'd probably take Macaulay Culkin from The Good Son, to be honest.
Probably less selfish.
It's like, I don't think there's a lot of great performances floating around this movie, unfortunately. Mostly because of the material. But
And I just said that I like Bernard as like just kind of shows up. He's just funny, but it's just kind of like he's funny because it doesn't really. It's like kind of just random.
yeah, his character doesn't make a ton of sense.
No, he does not.
All right, next up is our worst scenes. So we'll start with Corey. You want to throw it to the first one?
I think the scene that like on subsequent viewings it just makes less and less sense because of it seems like he's being groomed to be Santa, but around the 15-minute mark where Santa falls off the roof, but was it actually an accident?
Well, that's the thing. Is this scene Santa Claus is either intentionally killing himself to then to burden Scott with the curse of being Santa, or suddenly becomes the worst Santa of all time because he lands on the roof and wakes up his son, and then falls off the roof to his death.
Oh, you're right.
A thing he's been doing for hundreds of years, thousands of years. In theory,
you're right. He must have been doing this like I'm like trying
yeah.
to.
The kid is asleep and it's literally just woken up by Santa landing on the roof.
He's supposed to be like yes, and then. He also, the thing about it is, like, it has to be a little bit intentionally, or he has to be cool with dying. Mm-hmm. Because when he lands, he waves goodbye.
The wave is so weird.
The wave is weird because it just means like what is this saying? Like, does he want to be dead? Is this curse? Is he finally lifted and free upon this burden that is immortality?
Well, the other thing the other thing to me that suggests that maybe that's the case is that when Scott Calvin goes back to the North Pole, no one's grieving.
No.
Was this guy the worst boss ever?
Maybe he just fucking sucked, and it was like
maybe this is actually the worst Santa Claus of all time.
So I was thinking about that. Maybe like it's like the two parents. They had this whole like we didn't get this gift, but like it's proven that Santa can give you whatever the fuck he wants.
Right.
So maybe he was just really bad at his job. And that they're kind of like, oh, thank God this fuck's gone. We can actually like get back to work, apparently. And on like also just we're not talking about Santa Claus 2 or any other sequels in this fucking somehow there's a fucking franchise. But the second movie, basically, I think another part of the clause is that he has to get a wife to be Santa Claus.
I do sort of vaguely remember that. Yeah.
So where is his wife?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. So we hear somebody mention Mrs. Claus before he gets back to the North Pole, but by the time he gets back there, she's
gone,
boxed up and sent somewhere else.
So 3 options. First option: elves killed her. Wouldn't put it past those motherfuckers. Those
guys seem psychopathic.
Those guys are fucked up. Second option: she just withered away and died at the same time.
Santa Claus died.
I don't remember my third option, but it's just like being.
Maybe we should get sent to the island of Elba like Napoleon. I also saw Napoleon yesterday. It wasn't.
No. Okay, but that sucks. But I guess like it would also like a little bit of horrifying. It's like I can't remember which book I was reading. I think it might have been 8 Billion Genies, where one of the characters like lifespans is tied to another character's lifespan, and I'm like that is like a weird like concern I have to think about every day. Where it's like, oh, if that person dies, I'm also dead.
Right.
That's just me personally, but
I don't think that's just you personally.
Yeah. But
I think most people would agree with you on that one.
So, but also another thing, maybe the marriage wasn't great. Maybe he's cool to die because of like no more Santa Claus and also no more wife.
Yeah.
All right, next scene.
The third movie is he has to like fight Jack Frost, right?
Some shit. I don't know, man. I wonder what even the. I kind of am curious.
Martin Short, right?
Yeah, that would. I even as a kid, I'm like, this one sucks.
Well, the thing is, at least isn't that one like almost entirely in the North Pole?
Yeah.
This one was just mostly in Chicago.
That one sucked.
Yeah.
Also, I'm pretty sure there's no Bernard in it. So maybe as a kid, I'm like, hey, no fucking Bernard. I don't fucking want to be a part of this shit.
Yeah. Next scene.
Next scene we have around the 23rd minute mark is when I think this is probably his first like encounter with the child, where he's just straight up ruining her Christmas. And I mean, this is like a very like mean scene to this child, but also I think this might have been my favorite scene.
It's probably the best
I think
kid in the movie.
I think it's like probably the best. It's the best little bit they do in the film, I think, honestly. But yeah,
it's also the Tim Allen first Christmas really irritates me, honestly, because one, I mean, he's terrible at it. He would have just been caught. He almost is caught, but he would have actually been caught. And two, none of the fucking presents are wrapped. And I don't know why, but that really irritates
oh my
me.
God, you're right.
He just drops off like a unwrapped doll and a fucking Tonka truck and then a full canoe.
That's okay. That's not his fault though.
No, I'm not saying it's his fault, but why aren't all the presents wrapped?
That is weird. It's very also maybe this Santa, the old Santa, just fucking sucked at his job. I think I'm sticking to that mode. The old Santa we
hear from the weird elf that sort of
we're not there yet, but yes,
that there is a wrapping department because she's dating somebody in wrapping, so they should be wrapping these fucking gifts. Is all I'm saying.
Doing it. Yeah, this Santa Claus sucked. Bernard needs to run a tighter ship. That's probably why he's so pissed, because everything's like, honestly, quality control fucking sucks in the North Pole. All right, scene 3. It's like when we actually get to the North Pole for the first time. The reindeers leave him in like a winter tundra in a random. I mean, they're all children, but it is very scary when a child comes out of nowhere and enters a garage code to send you.
It doesn't speak. Like,
doesn't speak.
So weird. But my main
everyone else speaks.
My main issue with the scene is that Tim Allen refuses to act like he has no reaction to this at all. He's just been flown to the North Pole by 8 reindeer.
Yes.
And has been transported into a fucking building under the ice filled with children who are elves. And he is still running like the shitty stand-up bit from the 90s that he keeps recycling.
And it's like, hey, I can't get out of this thing. Like, okay, so either you're something that you're in a dream and you go with it, or you're like, what the fuck is going on right now?
Mental breakdown. He should be hyperventilating. Like, everything I do about the world is collapsing around me.
I think honestly, if they're gonna play the whole like I just believe that I'm dreaming at this point, I think they should have been like, yeah, whatever, fuck it, like let's just sure.
And then he should have been more laissez-faire.
You were like, yeah, like no, like this is all stupid, but yeah, continue talking right now. But he's just very much like, what's going on here? I need to get back home. And it's like, if you're assuming that you're actually in reality still. Which you shouldn't. You should like, if it happened to me, Jay, I would like, oh, I have fallen down and hit my head, or I'm having the weirdest mushroom trip of all time.
Well, I just also like, maybe I don't have the type of imagination that Tim Allen does, but I just have never had a dream that I thought was reality. I've never been like, this is so vividly real that it has to be a dream, you know. It's so weird.
I brought you some cocoa.
Oh, thanks.
My own recipe. Took me 1,200 years to get it right.
1,200 years?
That's right.
You know, I must say, you look pretty good for your age.
Thanks, but I'm seeing someone in wrapping.
This is good. This is really good.
Not too hot. Extra chocolate. Shaken, not stirred.
Basically, when it's like the night that he's like winding down, I guess, he meets this elf named Judy, who's kind of, what is his servant? His maid? Is that the whole? It's kind of weird, but but basically she drugs Santa with like a roofied eggnog. But like there's this whole scene where it's a
roofied hot chocolate that she's been working on for 12,000 years or something.
Some shit like that. And he's like, you look good for 12,000 years. And she's like, I'm dating someone in rapping. I'm like, I mean, Tim Allen's character does look rightfully concerned by what just happened. But also, I'm like, why did you even write this in here?
Yeah, it's a weird.
We didn't have to write this in here. This weird drugging elves. All right. Next scene, around the 46 minute mark, It's the meeting with the principal post. They did like a bring. Okay, first off, did you ever have one of those days in school? Like I never. I assumed it was the norm.
It must be a thing from that stopped in the 90s when like
yeah, like take your parent to school where your parent talks about what they do. Career day, I think.
Because it's in a lot of movies and TV shows. It's like a staple of those. I've never experienced it in my life.
Yeah, it's just fucking weird.
And it just never would have worked. Like when I was in school, my mom had to be at work.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think she could have been like, I'm taking the day off to, like, maybe she could have. I don't know.
But also, I'm like, I don't want to lose one of my PTO days to go talk to some fucking kids about what I do.
And also, like, why would the kids want it? It's like, I mean, the bit in these scenes is always, there's like, their parent has a really boring job, and then some other kid's parent is like, fucking Stark or something.
I mean, we definitely do these things all the time, but it's like, it always starts with somebody describing their job, and all the kids are horrified about it. Then the teacher's like, well, all right, next up, and then it's like, then it becomes the main one. But it's always that thing, and then something goes wrong with it.
Yeah.
But like, also, yeah, I mean, but then like we go to the meeting with the principal, where the principals talk. It's just, you can describe it better than me, Che.
Well, it's Charlie has just revealed that his dad is Santa Claus to the class.
Like, also, like a fucking idiot. Like, just weird as shit, man. Like, didn't run it by his dad first. Be like, I'm like, he was like, this, my dad's Santa Claus. And I'm like, maybe back then I would have been the same thing. But also, like, fucking idiot, man.
Well, and then it just, in this scene, he's being Scott and then his wife and Judge Reinhold.
For some reason, Judge Reinhold, it's like, why is he there?
They're
it's
all
like
meeting because the principal's like concerned that that their son believes in Santa Claus, which, fair enough, is like a sort. If you really believe this kid genuinely thinks, although actually no, because kids do. Kids genuinely believe in Santa Claus, right?
Yeah, kids genuinely believe in Santa Claus. Even some of the kids in the classroom were like, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's kind of stuff like that, right. Where it's like, and he's like not really getting bullied by this, which is another thing I feel like we got to bring back. We have to bring back proper bullying. Kids are getting out of control.
These nerds not gonna like that, Corey.
These nerds are running loose, us included. But we got bullied.
Back in my day, you'd be ashamed to watch anime.
You would be ashamed to say that my dad was Santa Claus in a classroom, and you knew you wouldn't say it because you would have gotten bullied because of it.
I remember I got in trouble when our shared good friend. I told Connor that Santa wasn't real. I don't remember.
Yeah, you fucking dick.
I think we were in like 5th grade, which to me seems like late.
Yeah, but Che, you're ruining the grift, man. Come on.
I know, but his mom told me aside. It was like, you can't be doing this.
You can't be doing that, Che. You can't be ruining kids' happiness.
I don't remember how it happened, but I didn't run up to him and was like, Santa's not real. I think we were just having a conversation, and I said a thing that I thought we all knew. Either way, the scene with the principal is just bad because Tim Allen, once again, is not acting like he's. A genuine concern that these people have is like their son is having like a pretty hard time with a divorce and is coping by pretending his dad is Santa Claus, although in reality it turns out he actually is Santa Claus. But he is acting in this room like he's been brought in here for a stupid reason when it's not. He should have some concern for your child and show some parenting, but he's not interested in that. Next up is, I think, I'm just going to say it now, my pick for the worst part of this movie.
This is the marketing meeting. Gotcha. Yeah, we talked about it a bit earlier. But
he shows up late in full sweat gear, like sweatpants, sweatshirt, to a meeting, which is revealed to be at lunch. So this guy is very late to the office. He showed up and they're like, we're ordering lunch. So it's at the earliest, this is like 11:30, and he just
it's like full on, like not like brunch. It's like it feels like full on like lunch, and also like I guess I just don't work in the corporate world enough. But do they have full on kitchens and offices? I guess that might be a thing.
I mean, no.
There was a waiter
you would be
there.
ordering from like a place. What's weird is the person they're ordering from has a bow tie like a waiter. That part is weird.
That was strange, right? I was wondering, like that just felt very
But maybe they're in a building that has like, there are buildings I've been in that have restaurants like in the building, like first floor or something. So maybe this is like the building's restaurant.
Maybe. Okay, I'll take that. I don't know.
But the fact that his coworkers they don't care at all.
They don't care at all.
Concerned.
And they're more concerned the fact that he looks terrible, and not the fact that like, yo, this is a freak accident. Like no one.
I mean, if I saw anybody, they saw him 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
You do get together. It breaks 10 minutes later. Then you got to spend more money just to buy new parts.
Well, I thought that was the whole point.
No. What we got to do is develop a basic, simple, inexpensive toy that will nurture a child's creative thinking.
Calvin,
Here, try the brown one.
can I see you outside a minute? I don't know what's happening to you. You're starting to look like the Pillsbury Doughboy. You're falling apart.
I know. I don't know what came over me.
Well, just get some help, you know? You should see a doctor, a shrink, a dietitian, anything. Just get some help.
If somebody gained 50 pounds in 2 days, you would be like, do you have
A condition.
I was gonna say cancer, but it's not, what would this even? I would be like, you went to the doctor, right?
I'd be yo, dude, you can go home. Like, you don't have to be here for the. He's like,
the other thing is, why is he in the office?
Yeah, because also like he's not even like it doesn't. He's not leading the meeting. It seems like if anything, he's kind of just another person like there that's been like, oh, this is a good idea.
Well, he is. We do find out in the opening scene that he and the other woman in the meeting are the heads of the marketing department. So this is his meeting in a way. Like, he's the head of marketing.
Yeah, but he doesn't seem to actually understand or know what the presentation is going to be before the meeting starts.
Yeah, that's weird.
Sorry, I'm asking about business questions in a children's movie. Yeah. But this is my job. All right, the next scene. We're at the hour 5 mark. Right before they meet up with the judge to discuss where the
some
the
of
child,
the worst writing in the movie.
Some of the worst. Yeah, they pretty much spring upon the Tim Allen's character that they're gonna fight against. I guess his child custody rights. And
listen, like I said, there's a version of this movie that you told from the wife's perspective that is like pretty horrifying. And at this point, it's been a year of this guy. We're approaching the second Thanksgiving, so it's been nearly a year of this guy like. It looks like slowly turning himself into physically turning himself into Santa Claus to like win the love of his child who is having a delusion that Santa Claus is real. You would want to keep your kid away from that guy.
Yeah, but it's also
to be 100% fair to them.
That's very fair, but it seems like these two have a weird like they don't like Santa Claus, and I think that also does like kind of like
the bit where they're like, I stopped believing in Santa Claus because I didn't get this. The worst line. It's just if you just write it slightly differently. The mom says,
"Boy, I really wanted a mystery date game. Do you remember those?" No, of course you don't. You know, no one does. I don't even think they make them anymore, but. Well, anyway, Christmas morning came and, I got dozens of presents. Oh, I got everything. Except mystery date.
and that's when I stopped believing in Santa Claus.
I'm like, that's not how it works. Like,
what?
Yeah, no, like even as a kid, I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, you just don't get everything. I mean, obviously my parents were buying the gifts, but it's just like, yeah, no, it's like you just don't get everything. You rank
a
them.
lot of things, but this one thing I wanted, I didn't get, and that's when I stopped believing in Santa Claus. Is crazy.
I mean, that seems to be both of their things. Like, I didn't get the specific thing that I asked for, thus meaning Santa Claus is not actually a thing. And I'm like, you guys both just kind of suck.
Can we talk about the thing that that Judge Reinhold wanted?
The weenie whistle? I don't know, man. That was weird.
Maybe it was like a big deal in like the 70s or something that I don't know about. But
this is another reason I'm happy I didn't grow up in the 70s.
It's just a whistle, right?
Just a whistle.
Branded by Oscar Mayer Wiener?
Just a whistle. Also, one of the more
for Christmas.
I think also one of the more wild scenes. Maybe it comes up in the doctor scene earlier on, but he's like you're like a healthy 38-year-old. I'm like, Tim Allen is not fucking 38.
Honestly, he might have been.
Oh, really? You think so?
38-year-olds in Hollywood just looked different back then. Let's see. So Tim Allen was
looked rough
in 53. So in 94,
41,
he would have been.
Yeah, closer than I thought. He's still a little rough to me, honestly.
It's all that fucking cocaine.
All that cocaine. It ages somebody. I mean, honestly, it ages. No, listen, prison ages you.
Yeah, all of the 2 months he spent in it.
All right, and to
Our
round
final
out the
scene.
film, yes, the happy ending.
So
Happy.
I include this scene not because I'm with you that like in a very different so this is about an hour and 23 minutes in, and if the first hour and 20 minutes of this movie had been a different movie, I wouldn't have included this scene. But as I said in my synopsis, basically it's like 3 minutes earlier. No, it's not even. It's 2 minutes earlier. So I'm looking at the timestamps at 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 50 seconds into this movie. The elves are breaking Tim Allen out of prison. And then 2 minutes later, at 1 hour, 23 minutes, and 50 seconds,
That's such an insane sentence.
the
I'm
wife
sorry.
is like, "You're Santa Claus. I'm throwing away the custody papers."
It's just like so much of like, yes, like you win, but it's like also like, where'd you get the custody paper? Like you just had those on hand. Your son was missing for a year, and you can just
So-
go grab that like immediately.
So abrupt. So weird.
And it's like, I really wish there was a better version of like he doesn't even say anything. She's just like, you are him, and I'm like, but how do you know?
Well, it's also like that also I never understood that line because it's not like they didn't like. So now she believes that he's actually Santa Claus.
actually say yes.
But why?
That's what I'm agreeing with you. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. And I mean, as soon as Bernard just magically appears, like, and
I
then,
guess
like,
that's what they should have. They should have
that's
like
what
as an
I-
elf.
yeah, like an elf, and then maybe should have had him do some kind of fucking magic or some shit like
Well, he
that.
does disappear right in front of their eyes.
Well, I meant Santa Claus does.
Oh yeah.
Like
Well,
actually haven't been
Tim-
like.
Wait, hold on. Can Tim Allen do magic? Does he know how to do magic in this movie?
Well, I mean, like he has a fucking
Or
magic
is he just
bag.
like a conduit for the virus that is Santa Claus?
I still have the theory that the reindeers are the ones who control everything. Honestly,
It does. Another question we haven't really talked about: why is it Rudolph in the movie?
couldn't get the rights.
So what do you mean you couldn't get the rights? You need rights to Rudolph?
I feel like maybe actually.
Okay.
It's like, listen, somebody made this movie. The song's not like, I don't know, was it in public domain back then? Let's not get into contract talk during the Santa Claus, please.
Yeah, I found the ending so incredibly abrupt that it was like almost jarring how quickly the resolution of this film comes about, and that's my major concern with it. Not that it's not like how all like Christmas movies end, which is like a pretty cheery, oftentimes a little bit cheesy, but that's what we love about Christmas movies.
I mean, like,
ending.
I think the ending that I always remember from this film, though, is like when he's flying away and then he drops the presents for people, and I'm like, that's the ending I remembered for it, for sure. But this is like the main story's happy ending, and it's like, I agree with you. It doesn't feel very earned, really. Like, it's not to the point of like, and this is crazy to me, the movie kind of ends on like kind of like a standoff between the police and Santa Claus.
So weird.
Such a weird vibe.
I don't really get why they're. Why, I mean,
If Santa Claus was black. Sorry, to continue.
I don't get a lot of things about this movie, but I don't get why they thought that the police arresting storyline was good, and why it's like included in the movie.
I think if anything, I think we like just kind of like it does. I mean, you have to do something. I felt like, I guess, you know, you're right. They shouldn't have actually had him get arrested. It was actually very unnecessary. If anything, yeah, like it adds in 5 minutes. Have him go down the chimney with Charlie, and then being like, oh my God, blah blah blah. Like,
Yeah, just have him realize he has to bring his son back because he can't have his son
yeah,
flying
Like,
around with him.
I think that would have
North
been.
Pole.
There should have been a scene in North Pole where he has to come to the realization, like, maybe I shouldn't be with my, like, maybe I need to, like, actually be a proper parent.
Right.
There could have been a moment, could have shown it, like, show, don't tell, like you did everything else in this fucking movie. Have him go down the chimney and be like, oh, I brought the kid back. Go back with him. Just keep that scene. Keep that scene. But the whole arrested bit and then going back to that scene, it just felt so weird. I guess just to, like, throw some more of, like, here's a little bit of weirdness in this film, and this is how
like
elves
the
work.
elf, like,
The elf SWAT team.
SWAT team, yeah.
It's a lot of weird shit.
Just strange.
It's just a weird scene. Well, Che, what is your worst scene?
It's got to be. It's the meeting. It's the meeting because it's like it just is indicative of how
You mean
little
this is
thought
like
is put
you mean the
into
marketing
movie.
meeting?
Yeah, when he's
Yeah.
clearly like it's just my biggest issue with this movie, as I've reiterated multiple times, is that nobody in it acts like a human being. Nobody has a normal reaction to something, and that scene is, I think, the crux of it, where it's like Tim Allen isn't acting like he should. All of his coworkers have absolutely no concern for a thing that's like clearly maybe this guy's dying in front of your eyes or something awful is happening to him.
I think if
and
anything,
nobody cares.
I think if anything, they should have had him be like take a lot of time off of work and then come back to the office and be like,
if this video was in February,
yeah,
or something.
It's like why is you like if he looks like Santa Claus and he's back in the office, I would be like, are you okay?
Yeah, it's like oh, Scott's been he's been like take all of his sick leave. Scott took all of his sick leave. Nobody's seen him in weeks or months, and he's back in the office now, and he's acting different, and he's gaining a lot of weight. And even still, then you would think you would have his coworker show some concern instead of like laughing in his face when he orders a sundae. It's so weird. Yeah, I think that for me is the pick. If I had to have a backup though, it would be the ending, which is just like I said, it's just so abrupt that it's just like I think they just got to the point where they're like, oh shit, we have to end the movie now, and they just ended it. What about you? What's your pick?
I think I'm right there with you because I think it's just like so indicative, like they just really don't care that much.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of like the way that they jumped around with the timeline with it, just kind of I think that really annoyed me. Once I realized how like abrupt and strange everything was. And I'm like, why does he have to be immediately like fat? Like, why does his hair have to be like? I think it would have been like you had like about a year to like have a slow progression. I think of it, but I guess in a way that they wanted to horrify the audience, and they had to show the scenes of him just like gaining a bunch of weight and his hair going immediately gray after cutting it back off. And he doesn't believe he's Santa Claus after that bullshit.
It's very strange. Like I said, Tim
But
Allen
yeah.
is acting so weird in this movie. So this movie's terrible, as we've said over and over again. But if we have to, Corey, we had to give it one Oscar. What would we give this movie? You want to go first?
I think I'd give it to makeup because I was just talking about the scene where he like his body entirely changed it. But I think the weight gain, the hair, like I think they did a very good job of that. I was like, oh, I'm surprised how good this looks for the 90s. Because I feel like I've seen it nowadays and it looks bad.
And I was telling Corey that I picked up a piece of movie trivia that might come in handy for you guys that this reminded me of, is that the movie Click, which is horrendous, might even be worse than this fucking movie, it has an Oscar nomination for Best Makeup, so I believe it.
Honestly,
I don't really remember
like
the makeup in that movie, but
maybe they make him a little old.
yeah, that's right.
I
For
think-
me, I go production design. I think
And I think that was a close second for me as well.
I think this movie actually has like a pretty good Christmas vibe. If you mute it and you don't hear what any of the characters are saying, it looks really cool.
No, that's what I'm saying. When it's
The
actually
North
in
Pole
the
looks pretty cool.
when it's actually in the North Pole, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a Christmas movie.
Which is why it's annoying that we spend so little time there.
Like during Christmas, I think the other movies do spend a lot more time in the North Pole, which I'm like, I don't think they're good films, and it's weird. I'm just like morbidly curious about the sequel, but not enough to sacrifice
I'm
90
morbidly
minutes
curious
of my
about this television show. I kind of have like, there's been a few times over the last week, if it wasn't for the fact that we are approaching the end of the year and I'm like cramming in movies and comic books and TV shows from the year that I haven't watched yet or read, I would have watched some episodes of the Santa Clauses, but I didn't. But yeah, for me, Carol Spire, who is actually, I looked up, I recognized the name when I pulled her credit from here, and she's like a pretty big deal production designer in Hollywood right now. Has done some of our favorite movies, including Pacific Rim and Blade 2. So like has a real like wide range of films she's worked on. I think this movie actually looks pretty cool. I'm actually, now that I'm saying it, I'm gonna take a quick look at the 1994 Oscars and see what won for production design, because I wonder, there's a chance that this movie was actually deserving of a nomination, in my opinion. Let's see. This is when they did art direction before it became production design. But so best art direction, Schindler's List. Fair. I mean, period pieces usually get like a more of a bump for category than I think they should. I love Schindler's List, obviously one of the greatest movies ever. I don't remember it being like looking incredible. Schindler's List, Addams Family Values, which I don't think I've ever seen, The Age of Innocence, Orlando, and The Remains of the Day. Not a great collection of films there besides Schindler's List, I have to say.
I don't think so.
I think we could have snuck the Santa Claus in there for one of those movies. And for makeup, best makeup. Oh, sorry, Corey, you're not pulling it off this time. Mrs. Doubtfire wins in 1994.
I think there's a conversation to be had, but I agree. I think Miss Doubtfire is better, but I think honestly in a similar vein.
Yeah.
And I think the points I have against it is like I thought the Santa Claus hair looked really good until the end where they did a really weird thing with it. I'm like, he looked kind of perfect in like that random middle ground, I think, where it was like hair was kind of short, but then they kind of made it. It went immediately like, oh, this is definitely a wig from the other point, but can't be Mrs. Doubtfire. That makes a lot of sense. Also, that was a much better film.
Yeah, I haven't seen Mrs. Doubtfire, and I don't even really remember it.
But honestly, also a lot of similar themes. Just divorced dads.
The divorced dads.
And, like the divorce
kind of dark ideas for family comedies, including the one thing I do remember about Mrs. Doubtfire is that he tries to fucking poison a man. Or no, does poison a man.
I forgot about that.
He's like allergic to, Pierce Brosnan's allergic to shrimp or something, and he puts shrimp in his food near the end and has to give him a
But it's a joke. It's a joke.
Funny joke. I think it's a funny joke.
Judge, I was doing a goof. It's fine.
It's a bit, sir.
It's a bit. Why are you arresting me?
Okay, so then best drinking game. So we both had a couple ideas. I'll give mine first because I've been harping on it a bunch. Basically, my idea is one rule. Easy drinking game. Just take a drink every time an adult doesn't act like a human being. And you'll be fucked up by the end of this movie, but I think you'll have a better time than I did.
I mean, I think they pretend to be human beings for like the first 5
minutes. The opening
minutes.
like 15 minutes of this movie, literally until Santa Claus falls off the roof of this building, everything's like weirdly normal. It's like kind of strange how normal the movie is. To the point where it's a little bit boring, and then
I think even like Tim Allen like accepting it so quickly was even more like strange about it. It's like there was no like shocking moment of being like, oh my god, this is a thing kind of vibe.
I mean, that's literally the scene when people stop acting with any rationality. If a man falls off your roof and seemingly die in front of you, the immediate reaction needs to be run and call 911. So that you're not complicit in his death at the very least, and 2, maybe you could save his life. But he's just like poking him and like checks him for ID. Why is he checking him for ID?
Because I mean that's what you do when someone falls off your roof. To be noted though, in the original writing of the script, I think the first draft he actually shoots Santa Claus.
Yeah.
So I guess they were like, how do we do this, but also like not in a way that's like scar children, I guess.
Or not. I mean, I think it just is he becomes sort of irredeemable, or not even irredeemable because it's like a guy maybe trespassing in his house. But I think there's like the thing that's most important to the plot of this movie is that he has no agency in it. I think that's kind of horrifying part of it. But it seems pretty intentional that he has no say in the matter. That he literally is like, this guy dies in his yard. He puts the suit on because his son tells him to, and then he just is taken to the North Pole and he's Santa Claus. And if he shoots Santa Claus, there's like a you killed him, so you have to take his place thing going on. I don't know. What's your drinking game?
Something I didn't notice the second time around. So you kind of actually, I think it's kind of hard to look for it. But throughout the movie, in the background,
I didn't even notice it after you told me. So
there are elves throughout the film. Like the children, just like there's just elves hit. Like you actually notice in the very end of the film, but in the opening credits, in the Denny's. In the fucking classroom, for some reason, there's just elves, and they don't ever touch on it. And if anything, it leans more to the theory that they knew Santa Claus was gonna die that night, and they were just making sure that Scott Calvin, SC, was there for this.
I mean, it's a very insidious.
The more
you think about this movie, the more insidious it gets.
I want to make a prequel to this film, and I want to make a prequel. Disney, stay out of my way, just give me money, and let me put out my horror film of the lead up into this.
I'd watch it. All right. No dumb questions. Corey, do you have any questions? I have one.
No, please. They usually get directed at me anyway, so it's okay.
I have the king of the dumb questions. So, again, I think there's a lot of nitpicking holes we could poke in this movie. We've done a lot of them already. My big one when watching this, it's never really addressed, but so on the first Christmas that we just were talking about, 15 minutes in, Santa Claus dies on the roof, Tim Allen gets in, he goes to 2 houses and flies back to the North Pole. So on the first Christmas in, I guess, Christmas 1993 or whatever, do just like a bunch of kids not get presents, or was Santa's last stop Lakeside, Illinois?
So 2 things that could be pointed at. I think yes, it was probably like I think it might have been the last stop.
Why? I guess
Actually,
that goes to your question. That maybe this is all a plan.
This is all planned. Yes, I think okay. It could be that, and it's all planned. I think that leads into that theory. 2, they didn't feel like doing any other overhead shots of any other cities, and they're fucking lazy. Or 3, which I'm actually kind of happy they touched on a little bit, and I thought that scene was kind of funny when Charlie and Judge Reinhold's character, he's like, so how does this work? He's like, I think they kind of go through some weird like space time, and I'm like, that's kind of funny, and like, so maybe it's that thing. I don't know, but
yeah, it. Do the other movies get into the logistics of Santa Claus?
I don't remember.
Explain it.
I don't
Santa
remember.
Claus is like, even as a fantasy film character, is like pretty impossible to explain or justify. I don't know if there's any movies that have even tried to before.
It doesn't really make much sense because it always happens where Santa Claus gets caught doing something.
Right.
It's always like, it seems like it's a moment in time and pause. I mean, in most recent examples, I mean, as everyone should look at a holiday staple, Violent Night. Is it Violent Night?
Yeah.
Okay. Violent Night, where he just straight up stops for about 50 minutes and just drinks some whiskey.
and then is trapped in this house for like
the entire night. And then I think we have to also assume afterwards that he finishes his entire run after that. So
does he? He's been like nearly burned alive.
Hey.
That movie is sick though.
I might have to watch the movie after this. I feel like that should be a double feature, just watching those 2. And I mean, if it's in the same, maybe it's in the same continuity too. Like, honestly, ignore the series.
It's a better one. My thought for a double feature movie was this and then Bad Santa, which are like on the 2 complete opposite ends of the spectrum of Christmas movies.
You know what's funny? As a kid, loves the Santa Claus, hated Bad Santa.
I probably still. I don't know. I don't even remember having an opinion on Bad Santa, to be honest.
I just remember not thinking it was funny at all. Maybe because I was just too young when it came out. I saw it in theaters, so. Thank you, Kim or Dana, for that.
I will say, speaking of bad 90s actors, comedies careers, I like Billy Bob Thornton. I think he's incredible in the first season of Fargo. Obviously, has made some, like, I would say classics in pretty hard air quote movies. But I think all of his comedies are terrible. I think they let him do it like a bunch. He had Bad Santa 1 and 2, Mr. Woodcock, which the entire joke of the movie is like Billy Bob Thornton has a big dick and he's having sex with Sean William Scott's mother, and that's the whole joke. There's no layers to that joke. It's the whole movie, and they just kept letting him make comedies, and I don't know.
Bad News Bears, which is just once again bad.
The remake of Bad News Bears, yeah, terrible.
You're like, I'm just drunk the entire time. Like, that's not funny.
I mean, he's in Love Actually, a bad movie.
A bad movie.
Maybe you're gonna do an episode on for Christmas.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not. Probably.
But yeah, that was my dumb question. I don't know if there's like a good answer to it, or if there needs to be.
I don't think there is a good answer to most of the questions. Like, I think I want to be in the writer's room for this, so it's like, but I think I'm going to go with, it's the last stop leading into the theory that he was set up for this. The set directing was lazy, or Space-Time Continuum. So all bullshit.
All bullshit.
All bullshit. Which is the best answer to these kind of questions.
Of course. Should we take a quick break and come back and remake this movie?
Let's do it.
Thank you very much. This was really a team effort, and I would just want to thank every one of you individually.
But we don't have time for that, do we? In all seriousness, here at B&R Toys, we're not just about making a profit in quality toys. We're also about families. But our families aren't here with us right now. It's probably why Johnson's secretary is sitting in his lap. You guys have a great party, have a great year, drive safe. Thanks very much.
And we're back.
What's up?
All right, a little twist on our normal remake format. Normally we come in here and we just pitch us. It's the offices of Bishop and Shabazz. We're the production agents, but instead of doing a whole movie, because actually I don't think the rest of this cast matters a whole bunch. We're just gonna talk about our ideas for a 1994 version of this movie with a better Santa Claus, because as we've said, it's weird. It's crazy they made this movie with Tim Allen. And then we're going to try to do a modern remake, a 2024 version of this movie with a modern actor. And it looks like we both picked directors, so I guess we'll talk about who the director should be. But Corey, you want to go first? So
Sure.
Ideas ready?
So I think so we're doing this for the 2022, the 2023 remake.
Either one. Go for it.
Okay, honestly, for both of them, I picked Chris Columbus, most famously known for the early Harry Potter films. And you know why? It's just like I always thought those like Christmas parts of those movies just always worked very, very well.
And Harry Potter, in general, those movies feel, even though they're not really Christmas movies, feel like real Christmas movies.
They always feel like, yeah, exactly. So I kind of was like, let's just do
Mrs.
that.
Doubtfire.
It's true. True. And I think it's also like a level of sincerity that I feel like that was kind of missed from this film in general. And speaking of Mrs. Doubtfire, I think for the well, actually, do you want to do directors first, or do you want to do both?
No, do your whole thing.
Okay. And for my main cast in 1994, I picked Robin Williams. Funnier, definitely can like lean into being the jerk if he needs to be, and also has like a lot of like, I mean, sincerity is like his fucking thing when it comes through in the end, which I feel like this third act really needed it better.
Yeah.
I feel like there are two moments in the film that are like, oh, Santa, this is sincere and actually Christmassy. And I feel like Robin Williams could have handled that a lot better. I mean, probably would have been a better film in general. So I got two pitches for you for 2023. My first pitch is another like family film, and I didn't have a better actor for this, and I really should have. And I think you did get a better actor for this. But like as kind of playing the jerk and the nice thing, which I feel like he's not that good at playing the jerk, as Paul Rudd, because he's just so fucking likable. And I think that's the problem.
Piece of shit in like a different way in Role Models, though.
Yes.
And I like Role Models a lot. I think Role Models is really funny. And if he can tap into that version of Paul Rudd, which we haven't seen in a while, but I don't think it's because he's not capable of it. I think it's just because Paul Rudd just become the nice guy.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's sort of the same vibe he has in like This Is 40, where he's like just checked out, a little bit of a dick to his wife and not to his kids, but like just like a little bit of a dick, and is like pretty hard around the edges. I actually think it's a pretty good shout. I like it a lot. I think Paul Rudd is the kind of guy who has near universal appeal, and that's what you need in a Santa Claus, which is the opposite of Tim Allen, who nobody
absolutely likes. Like everyone likes him, and I think like once you kind of like let him be like nice and jolly, it feels a lot more. And also he can just like deliver all that bullshit, and it actually feels a lot more believable and nice than Tim Allen, where it's just like you're just had like your entire character just kind of like had a switch flipped.
Has Paul Rudd ever done a Christmas movie? Let's see. Paul Rudd Christmas movie. There is a movie from 2013 that comes up called All Is Bright, which I've never seen, but looking at so two shady French Canadians, Paul Rudd and Paul Giamatti, who Paul Giamatti just came off of probably the Christmas movie of the year so far, hatch a get-rich-quick scheme selling Christmas trees in New York. I mean, sounds like a dick to me.
Yeah, no, I like it. That sounds like some Scrooge she's going to learn a lesson in, so I'm about that. All right, and my very different pitch, which was given to me, for like kind of leaning more to like the horror film that I believe this film would be. It was Alexander Skarsgård.
I mean, it's great.
Because I think you really think about body horror and people that you would not want coming down your Christmas, like your chimney.
But also, Skarsgård is really funny. You guys haven't seen that episode of Atlanta where he's basically playing a joke on himself? He's really, I think he's an underrated comedic actor.
And
he's
he
so
could
funny.
definitely be an asshole. Yeah, and also just the entire mental image of a 6'6+ Santa Claus is just genuinely horrifying. And
would you make him? Would you turn him into Fat Skarsgård?
Yes.
Okay. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
Also, just imagining all the scenes with like the elves is just even more fucked up because they're like children and he's a Goliath. So it just a lot of fun, but also a lot more of like this very in shape man gets forced upon to be Santa Claus.
And I do think people have a real...
and that's going to be by Cronenberg, I think, for that one. I'm joking. Oh, I hope not.
I think people also have like a real connection to Skarsgård. Like I think despite the fact that he's like a 6'4" beautiful white guy, he's got like pretty universal appeal. He's like people.
I don't think anybody dislikes the guy. Yeah,
I think people really like him.
Still waiting for his career to take off in a weird way, but I don't even know what I mean by that at this point.
I think it's because the Skarsgårds across the board really like doing weird shit.
That's fair. I mean,
and
they're already rich, so I guess like what's the point of it? Like they don't need to. They everyone. I mean, like he was in fucking Godzilla vs Kong. He wasn't really acting in it, but hey, he was there.
And I think the one time he made like a Hollywood star move was
we talked about this,
which I just don't think really worked.
Yeah, we talked about that at dinner and how it just was a very just strange choice and just
even that's like a really weird blockbuster. It was
it's
like
a
David
weird
Yates. I'm gonna make realistic Tarzan. It's just strange.
And everyone asked for it because everyone needed it.
Speaking of Harry Potter directors, David Yates. It's all a circle here. It's all a
circle. All right, Shay, give me your pitch.
So my pitch for director, who wasn't really working back in the 90s, but that's okay. We can. Oh, actually, when is Alexander Payne? So my director is Alexander Payne, who is probably stuck in my head because I just mentioned Paul Giamatti. I just saw The Holdovers this recently. Quite a good movie. I like a lot of Alexander Payne stuff. He makes these like dark comedies, at times kind of pretty weird. Obviously, Downsizing is one of the more surreal versions of the movie. I think that one doesn't really work as well, but obviously Sideways, The Descendants, which has been nominated for an Oscar. But I think he has the sort of the aesthetic and the themes that I'm really interested in for this kind of movie, which is like, I think this movie, as we said before, is equally as dark as it is funny, and I think that is what I really like about about Payne's movies. And actually, his first feature length film was in 1991, so he just skated up. I've never seen The Passion of Martin. I have to admit, his first movie, but
he was almost sucked into that whole Disney bubble. So I feel like that's around then. It could have been your career could have went one or two ways, and it's like consistent work, but you have to make the Santa Claus.
Yeah, and it's probably weird for me to be like, let's get the guy who made Sideways and The Descendants to make a Christmas movie, but also I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah, no, fuck it. Who gives a shit?
I don't care how weird it is. So that's my choice for director. I think both, like I said, in 94 and modern day, his aesthetic is pretty universal. For 1994, really coming off of or just before The Big Lebowski. When is The Big Lebowski again?
I think it's like 97, 98.
No, 98. Okay, so
much further
before this than I thought it was. Yeah, 98.
Jeez.
I thought it was like 94, 90. Wow.
Nah. But it was later than I thought too. I remember saying that. I was like, oh, weird.
Yeah. Jeff Bridges in The Big Lebowski, still one of my favorite comedic performances, and also a guy who can, I mean, like you said, Corey, I think the thing you need for an actor is somebody who can, at the beginning of the movie, be a believable dick, and by the end, be lovable.
And he's done both.
Right.
Like on both extremes for sure.
This is the guy who was in True Grit.
Did not know that was Haley Stanfield.
Yeah, and in The Old Man from last year, and was also in The Big Lebowski and R.I.P.D.
I mean, also he does play a pretty charismatic dick in Iron Man.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Jeff Bridges, I think, is one of the more underappreciated actors of his time, and he's certainly getting up there in age and is like slowed down working. And I hope it doesn't take to the point of his death that we look back on his career.
Stop!
Like,
oh my God, Shay.
I'm just saying, I think he should be appreciated.
I know. I'm just gonna say, I was like, Jesus.
I'm not burying the man. Listen,
you just sound like you kind of maybe were a little bit.
It's undeniable he's working less than he was.
Well, yeah, okay. Let's just stop talking about it now, because if he does pass away, it's on you.
That's fine.
And this episode won't come out.
So as Corey, I had two that I was vacillating between. I think the better choice, I think this guy is, I would actually kind of love to see him in like a version of the Santa Claus, is Matthew McFadden, who most people now will know as Tom Wandsgams from Succession. But I first came across him in the show Ripper Street, where he is a very much by the paint by numbers, by the book police officer in Jack the Ripper era England, and was also in the 2017 remake of Howard's End, and was earlier this year playing like a bumbling, lovable idiot in Stonehouse.
And I mean, honestly, though, he can kind of play a little bit of a dick. And
he's a real dick in
no, I'm saying he plays dick and also very sincere. I mean, like, I can't believe, like, Pride and Prejudice is what I actually know him from. And he's very good as Mr. Darcy in that. Kind of weird We had a lot of relation to that movie recently.
He's been for a long time been a pretty consistently like a good character actor in England, and because of the success of Succession is starting to make the transition over into America. I think he would be my ideal pick for 2023. My only hesitation is he big enough yet? I don't know. And if we're saying like we need somebody who's can get people to the box office to go see a Christmas movie draw, I would say John Hamm, who is again a guy who is very funny.
See, honestly,
almost
man,
always in on the joke.
I think honestly the John Hamm pick would maybe go to Paul Rudd, because I did want the John Hamm pick over Paul Rudd, just because it just leans so much. It's just easy though in a way. He's a funny dude, and he's known for playing an asshole businessman. It's like a bit too perfect,
and it's like can be really sincere and funny. It is like really charming. If you guys haven't seen the Confess Fletch from last year, I think that's some of his best comedic work. Not to mention, of course, his appearance in Good Omens, which I think he's quite good in. I think either of those would really play. I'm also like, I'm sort of interested to hear, like, do you think we'll ever make Christmas movies like we used to? I just watched The Genie on Peacock.
I was just gonna say, I think on streaming, but I don't think it'll ever really return to that kind of feeling.
Yeah, which I think is weird, because I think people want to go to the theater to see a Christmas movie, and I don't know. Like I said, I just watched The Genie. I mostly watched it because I really like Papa Asidu, I think is how you say his name. And I also thought Melissa McCarthy, who is somebody who I have thought can be really good and continues to make bad movies with her husband when she doesn't need to, was quite good in that movie. But it is like The Holdovers, which was in theaters, and it's gotten like a surprising successful run, because it's in like a Christmas movie vacuum. Like, what's the other Christmas movie that's in theaters?
There isn't.
Is Wonka gonna be the Christmas
Silent
vibe?
Night?
Oh, Corey, don't tempt me, man. I'm so excited for Silent Night. That movie's gonna be.
I'm enjoying this. Like, we're doing like, and listen, give me a violent Christmas movie every year until I die. I'm cool with that genre. Yeah,
I 100% agree with you, but I wonder why this is sort of disappeared by the wayside in what feels like modern cinema. And I don't know why. I would love to get.
I feel like they used to be like the cash grab too. I'm really surprised that it's kind of like slowly kind of like gone away, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what was the last big Christmas movie that was in theaters? Like genuine, not like Violent
Night,
a bit, which we loved, but like genuine. This is like a family we gave a Christmas movie.
Probably before the pandemic.
I would say well before the pandemic, right? I'm Googling Christmas movies. I'm going through. We've got. I don't even understand this top row. This is top picks for me. Google really fucked up because they've got Edward Scissorhands, which not.
Hey, it's on my Christmas list apparently.
Shazam, The Green Knight, and Christmas Ice Catastrophe, which I've never heard of.
Trying to look at.
Yeah, I don't see a single Christmas movie on this list, which is really weird. And the last Christmas movie I saw in theaters that was like a Christmas movie, and this is the other movie we might do. We'll see. Corey and I need to talk about what our content plans are. But that's what I saw in theaters was Last Christmas, and that movie is fucked.
Oh no!
So weird.
It's this 21st most highest grossing Christmas movie of all time.
Last Christmas.
21st.
No, nobody saw that movie.
Last Christmas, 21st. It made $121 million.
Huh?
Let me know.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you've seen Last Christmas, please call me on my cell phone so we can talk about Last Christmas. Because that fucking movie is so weird. You know, shout out to Emma Thompson, who I love, who wrote that movie and is like. Emma Thompson, like I said, I love her, is a fucking weirdo, and it's very clear that she put all her weirdo shit in that movie.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I'm looking around it now, I think it kind of died around the 2010s, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. I
mean,
you
know, honestly,
I don't remember anyone's.
Honestly, 2 of the top 20, I want to say, like, top 24, around the same time. And I think I realized whose fault it is. It's Vince Vaughn's. I think in subsequent years he put out Four Christmases, and Fred Claus. And I think he might be the one who died, who might be killed the comedy Christmas films.
I think people love Four Christmas though, which is so weird to me.
It's a bad movie.
The movie sucks.
I remember fucking hating it. It's about how much you hate your relatives. That's the entire point of the film.
And also, listen, I'm sure she's a nice lady, but I don't want to spend any time with Kristen Chenoweth. I think she's so miserable to be around, like as an actor and a performer. And she plays like a big part in that movie, and I'm not okay with that.
And also, I mean, I'm looking at it now, I think the ones that I saw was like kind of like leading us into this current trend of like alt Christmas movies was Krampus, which I just watched for the first time.
Krampus is fucked. I mean, my ride or die alt Christmas movie. I mean, I don't know if it counts because it's not an American movie, but
doesn't count. Doesn't
2010 matter. Rare exports.
I think that's what's kind of becoming though. Like, there's so many movies now that are like, takes place around Christmas, and this is what becomes like, and they're not Christmas movies anymore. Like Shazam recently, which it basically is a Christmas movie, but it's like not a Christmas movie. And like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which it's kind of old at this point, but that's also like takes place at Christmas, but it's not a Christmas movie.
And then like the best example of it, of course, Die Hard, which is like,
exactly
a Christmas movie only. And
it is a Christmas
came
movie.
Out in July, and is like,
but it's actually, it enters my category of like must watch Christmas movies.
Yeah, I agree.
As 100%. It is now, yeah. But
I don't know. It's very interesting. I would love to know why. I mean, I like the idea that it is Vince Vaughn's fault. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm gonna blame. No,
I blame him for it.
Okay, I mean that's my theory. Let's just blame it on Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, it works for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Before we go, though, of course, we've talked a lot about this movie. The good and the bad. Not a lot of good. Mostly bad.
Mostly bad.
We've hypothesized that maybe the Christmas movie is dead, which is unfortunate.
I think we might have come.
Christmas movie.
We can't be genuine anymore. I think as a society, we're just sad. I think it's hard.
Well, I noticed it when all these streaming services have their like top watch movies and everything, and for some reason Elf is on like 3 different streaming platforms, and Elf is #1 all over the place. And Elf is like, I like Elf, but Elf is not new. It's 20 years old.
I think it's just like
it feels like the last real Christmas movie we've had.
People grew up on it and it was funny, and I think that's the last one we had. And I think that's like the last good, genuine, feel the spirit of the holidays movie. Now it's all just damn, now I'm sounding old
on that movie though. But Corey, I have to ask you one last question, as you know.
Sure, please.
We're coming to the end of the Santa Claus. We didn't. I don't even know if we did Tim Allen the Snitch the service he deserves, but so be it. This is a terrible movie. It was a tough watch.
And I think it is, like, in a way, the spirit of Curse of the Rewatch, because as a kid, this was my favorite Christmas movie. Yes. This is what I thought of the Santa Claus rules worked like. I base so much of, like, my belief in Santa Claus off of this movie. Yeah. And I have to say, man, this was one of the harder of all the watches that we did. I was kind of hoping to be wrong about it. I was, like, kind of hoping to be not, like, I knew it wasn't going to be good.
These movies to be bad, mostly because
I just was hoping that it was like, I was hoping I wasn't wrong as wrong as I thought I was, because it's like I had a lot of nostalgia factor for it, but I was kind of even hoping like maybe like show some younger people at some point, but it's like, you know what? Nah, we ain't watching this, man.
We'll stick to Home Alone.
Stick to Home Alone.
So it's terrible, as we've said, but is it worse than The Room?
No.
No, I agree. The Room, 20-year anniversary of The Room earlier this year. I don't know.
Jeez, wow, that's
anything for it.
That's really weird. That's a really weird sentence.
I have not watched Big Shark yet, mostly because there's no way to watch Big Shark yet. Tommy, bring it to streaming.
When it comes, we have to watch it legally because of this podcast. Will not be Curse of the Rewatch. It'll just be Pain. Oh. This is Zack Snyder cut all over it again.
Such a bad movie. Both of them. But
both of them.
All right, Corey. As we said before, we are in the throes of the end of year fun and also hardship. But if you would love to see us suffer and celebrate this incredible year we just had, Don't forget to follow us at Next Time on Pod all over the place. Follow this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to go over there and check out the YouTube. This episode you just listened to, hopefully you watched it, because there's a lot of visual stuff going on in this here YouTube version of the podcast. And last but not least, don't forget to go over there and check out nexttimeon.net. That's where all of our archive podcasts, all of our writing is, all that good stuff. Anything else for the people, Corey?
Nothing else from me.
I've been Che.
I've been Corey.
See you guys next time.
Happy holidays.
Bye.